UFC pay-per-views. 2024, I dare say, is one of the best years of MMA I have ever witnessed, okay? It has been way better than 2023. 2023 had a few highs. I must say that. A few highs, a lot of valleys, okay? I will never forget Aljamain Sterling versus Henry Cejudo that's still the worst card of last year, okay? I know it's become a meme at this point. That was terrible. Awful card. I don't want to dunk on it too much because this year was pretty good because we got a lot of good cards. And we have a lot of great ones, okay? And that's what we're going to be rating in this video. Every single pay-per-view of 2024, I'm ranking their main cards. I'm just going to get that out of the way. Some of these cards are mid, but were carried by the prelims. But you want to know something? I'm not paying for the prelims. I'm paying for the main card. If the main card is bad, I'm robbed. It's that simple, okay? And overall, it has been a pretty good year, but we got some solid rants to get to, okay? Everything from UFC 297, Strickland versus Dricus, all the way to this most recent card, Pantoja versus Asakura. We got jokes, we got a lot to talk about, okay? I don't want to have a long-winded intro here, okay? I understand I've been gone for a minute. But no, we're coming back for the rants, okay? And with all that out of the way, please consider a like, comment, and subscribe. But let's get into ranking UFC pay-per-views. Let's get into it. UFC 297. I got to brush up on what this card was, okay? We got main event, Strickland versus Duplessis. Raquel Pennington. Oh my gosh, that's terrible. Dude, that fight got a man's career ruined. DC and RC, yeah, that got taken away because bro had the audacity to say the fucking truth. Raquel Pennington versus Myron Bueno Silva literally cast a shadow on the entirety of bantamweight. Women's bantamweight is an awful division. None of these people should have been fighting for the title that night. It's just Amanda Nunes's and Juliana Pena's leftovers. Do you have any idea how bad of a division you have to be considered Juliana Pena's leftovers, who is one of the most overrated fighters of all time? I don't want to say overrated, just one of the worst ones to ever win a title. Awful main event. Neil Magny versus Mike Mallet. It was very funny seeing Mike Mallet get fucking fraud checked in front of the Canadians. Amazing. Chris Curtis. Oh yeah, nothing burger. Arnold Allen, Movsar Evloev, robbery win. Arnold Allen should have won that. And I say robbery because he could have gotten a finish if the illegal knees were scored properly, which they weren't illegal. I'm not even going to bother looking at the prelims, and I remember the prelims being decent, but that doesn't matter. Unironically, this is probably one of the worst cards of the year. If we're looking at Strickland versus Dricus, probably the best fight of Strickland's entire career in terms of how exciting it was, because that bar is very, very low. However, I'm gonna put it in C because I don't want to put something in D already. But C tier card, I'm leaving it at that. UFC 298, Volkanovski versus Topuria, another pretty solid card. Let's look at this. Main event, Volkanovski, Ilia Topuria. Great one. I remember I picked this one at like an absolute G. I said Ilia Topuria was going to get his distancing in the first round. In the second round, he was going to cut the cage off at Volkanovski and then hit him with a body overhand right, sleeping him, and knew Ilia Topuria. Easy. Pretty sad, though. Robert Whittaker, Paulo Costa was a good main event. Nearly got finished in the first round because Paulo Costa's one of the most inconsistent fighters of all time. Jeff Neal eating Machayo Gary. Who would have thought? Bro started the year with arguably losing to Jeff Neal to... We'll cover that in the last one. Merab Dvalishvili beating up Henry Cejudo was hilarious. Anthony Hernandez fraud checking Roman Kopylov because Roman Kopylov is one of the few Dagestanis that can't fucking grapple. Anthony Hernandez also had a great fight later on in the year beating up the Marcel Pereira, who doesn't have any cardio. This is, it's a B tier card. It's not as bad as UFC 297. UFC 297 was probably one of the worst cards of the year. I'm putting it in B tier. I think that's valid. I really do. UFC 299, O'Malley versus Vera 2. I remember this card being announced, and people were legitimately worried for UFC 300, because let's look at this card. Okay, we're starting at the bottom now. We hear Petr Yan Song Yadong. Insane opening fight of any card ever. Petr Yan Song Yadong, crazy. Okay? And then Petr Yan gets a win, was the start of the comeback arc that we needed for Petr Yan. Gilbert Burns versus Jack Della Maddalena. Another amazing fight. Jack Della Maddalena. Okay. Yeah, no, Jack Della Maddalena, that was a good fight. That was a good fight. I had to think about it for a second because Gilbert Burns was doing really well in that fight, but Jack Della Maddalena just has power out of nowhere and manages to get the finish against Gilbert Burns, but Gilbert Burns was getting the better of him in the grappling, and I do think that's where he's going to have trouble. Do not make Jack Della Maddalena versus Sam Brady. Please do not make that fight because Sam Brady will find a fucking way to win, and that'll be very, very sad. Kevin Holland versus Michael Venom Page. Here's the thing. If you went into this fight thinking it was going to be an absolute slugfest, you're stupid. I knew this was going to be a point fighter's delight because Kevin Holland has low fight IQ and Michael Venom Page has high fight IQ. He realized all he had to do was keep him at distance, and Kevin Holland just wilts at the slightest moment that he's losing a fight. I'm not even kidding you. One of the greatest fighters, if he has the momentum, quits like Anthony Smith the moment things start turning on him. It's actually insane. Kevin Holland, you're better than that. Dustin Poirier, Benoit Saint Denis. Oh my gosh, it felt good seeing Benoit beat the Frenchman, dude. Oh my gosh, that felt good. Benoit Saint Denis, fraud. Certified fraud. Not because of this, but because of what happened in the Renato Moicano fight. However, Benoit Saint Denis kind of checked the grappling of Dustin Poirier, which is really weird considering Dustin Poirier did reasonably well against Islam Makhachev. And then Benoit Saint Denis was controlled. Like, it's weird. It is weird. I want to see Benoit Saint Denis. I don't know who you're going to put him up against. Benoit versus Patty, maybe? I don't know. Maybe that's a winnable fight. Good co-main event, Sean O'Malley versus Marlon Chito Vera. Again, I predict these things, man. Sean O'Malley was going to make it a very, very one-sided decision. We have one close finishing sequence. I said that before the fight even happened because O'Malley sometimes has power, most of the time doesn't, okay? It's not that he has power, his shot placement is just great. And the Ecuadorian Chito Vera his skin's made out of concrete, honestly, bro. I'm putting this A tier. This was an A tier card. Probably one of the best of the entire year because Sean O'Malley, we have to say Sean O'Malley can sell a pay-per-view, but we're going to stack the cards. So maybe he can sell, maybe he can't. We don't know. UFC 300. Listen, this is the best card of the year. Nobody's going to say it's not. Okay, I can actually talk about the prelims here because the prelims were so fucking good. Calvin Kattar, Aljamain Sterling, Sadiq Youssef, Diego Lopez, insane. Jalen Turner, Renato Moicano, King Green versus Jim Miller, Divison Figueiredo, Cody Garbrandt to open up the card. Yuri Prohaska versus Alexander Rakic, amazing fight. Bo Nickel, Cody Brundage, get that shit off the main card now, little bro. Charles Oliveira versus Arman Sarukian, I agree with the split. I gave it to Arman too. I think he did just enough. But here's the problem. This should have been 5 rounds. It should have been 5 rounds. Nobody's debating that with me. Charles Oliveira had a few close finishes, but hey, Arman Sarukian did enough to survive and win some of the rounds. Justin Gaethje, Max Holloway, greatest KO of the year. Nobody's questioning that. I think I did a TikTok live on this, and my reaction was, it was crazy. Last second of the fight, Max Holloway gets one of the greatest finishes of there. That shit hyped me up for a while. Zhang Wei Li got low-key fraud checked by Yang Xiaonan. Zhang Wei Li, what the fuck is going on? Where are you, woman? We need you. I think you're fighting Tatiana Suarez now. Brother, Zhang Wei Li's overrated. Honestly, bro. Okay, you're lucky Rose Namajunas took a nosedive in her career because what is going on with you? Alex Pereira versus Jamal Hill. Oh my god, I understand it ended kind of weird with that nutsack, changed his position and gets the finish, but seeing Alex Pereira become this year's fighter of the year felt good, and he saved this card. UFC 300 was supposed to be headlined by Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler, and then they wanted to do Dricus versus Israel Adesanya, and then they called up Alex Pereira to fight Jamal Hill. That was supposed to be on 301, and I'll tell you why I think it was on 301 in a second. But UFC 300 goes in S tier. It's the best card of the year, no question. UFC 301, Pantoja versus Urseg. This is the worst card of the year. Let's go through this really quick, okay? No, we're not even gonna bother with the prelims. Paul Craig versus Kyle Barillo. I mean, listen, we knew it was gonna happen. Paul Craig doesn't have a chin anymore. It's actually really sad considering Bo Nickel couldn't KO him. Marcel Pereira versus Ihor Potieria. It's Ihor Potieria. He beat Mauricio Sogunhua, and we put him against Marcel Pereira. Okay? Like, if you ultimately look at these fights, these are nothing burger fights that the UFC just slapped on here because why not? Anthony Smith got the last win of his entire fucking career against Vitor Petrino because Vitor Petrino is not UFC caliber. He just isn't. And Anthony Smith on paper is the GOAT of the sport, but wilts whenever he gets hurt. That's why he got to finish in the first round, because Vitor couldn't do shit. So it's that simple. Anthony Smith gets the win. That was the highlight of his career. Jose Aldo got a win. That's good too. Jonathan Martinez, again, we found out is not UFC caliber because bro did fucking nothing in his last fight. So yeah, that also happened. Outside of the last minute with leg kicks. If he can't beat you with leg kicks, he ain't doing shit. That's what I've realized with Jonathan Martinez, to be frank with you. Jose Aldo, this was it. This is what sold the card. Steve Erceg had an above average performance against Alessandro Pantoja and then got fucking no-diffed by Kai Kara France. D tier. D tier card. Absolutely. Yeah, no question. D tier card. Awful. Awful. UFC 302. Now, this is an interesting card because of what happened with 303. But if we're going to go at the start of this card. Randy Brown versus, what the hell is that? Elisgo Zaleski dos Santos. Okay, Randy Brown is better. That's really... I like Randy Brown. Randy Brown was kind of done dirty in his Brian Battle fight that we're going to catch up off on the final card. I think that was kind of a bullshit thing. I think Randy Brown should have been ruled the winner. If the judges are going to have an obvious bias, I think that obvious bias should be in favor of the motherfucker who literally just made weight and Brian Battle couldn't be fucking bothered to cut a few more pounds. What the hell, man? Nico Price for a nothing burger of a fight. Kevin Holland versus... Here's the thing. This is what I've learned. Kevin Holland, you put him on cards as just a little bit of seasoning because he has a name, and then you put him up against somebody that's most likely a nobody because Kevin Holland, when he gets a finish, is one of the best fighters in the UFC. Strickland versus Paulo Costa. Here's the thing. Should this have been a split decision? Fuck no. Strickland wins that fight. I think it should have been a unanimous. They tried to rob him because I don't know why. I don't know why. This would have been fucking devastating for his career, but... Strickland gets the win. Paulo Costa is, again, one of the most inconsistent fighters of all time. And Strickland has another Strickland performance, is probably arguably the most consistent fighter of all time to his detriment. Another 5-round decision magician. Islam Makhachev versus Dustin Poirier. Fight of the night, performance of the night, because there was nothing on this fucking card. Great fight. Islam Makhachev. Here's the thing, brother. I fucking hate Khabib fans because Khabib fans aren't even Dagestani fans. Because Islam Makhachev will win this fight and then they'll be like, Dustin Poirier sucks, but Dustin Poirier hurt Islam Makhachev, but not Khabib. Well, because Khabib had favorable matchups literally the entirety of his career. And then the one time he didn't was against a fucking nobody. Islam Makhachev is actually out here taking fucking risk, and you guys need to address that. As far as this card, I'm putting it at the bottom of A tier. Bottom of A tier, better than UFC 299. I think that's a valid take. UFC 303. This was a clusterfuck. Let me get this straight, okay? Alex Pereira has to step up on 2 weeks' notice because Conor McGregor... I don't even know. The Conor McGregor year has been absolutely insane. Bro got bodied by a woman in court instead of fighting Michael Chandler. Absolutely insane, bro. Wild. Alex Pereira versus Yuri Prochazka. Great fight seeing Alex Pereira beat up Yuri Prochazka. Actually, that hurt my heart a little bit. Dan Ige versus Diego Lopez. Again, this was a clusterfuck because Diego Lopez, I believe, was supposed to fight... Brian Ortega. Brian Ortega couldn't make the weight, and then Diego Lopez just wasn't going to be on the card, so they got Dan Ige on 2 hours' notice, takes it to a decision, and then people said Diego Lopez is a fraud. No, he was training to fight Brian Ortega. Dan Ige's completely different stylistic matchup. Anthony Smith versus Roman Dolidze. This was supposed to be Jamal Hill versus, I believe, Carlos Ulberg, and then everybody dropped out, and it was bullshit. Anthony Smith, Roman Dolidze. I'm sorry. This should have been your retirement, Anthony Smith. If you get outstruck by Roman Dolidze, a fucking middleweight, you should never be fighting again. Frankly, you should be done right after that. Roman Dolidze was disappointed in you. Myron Breno Silva versus Macy Jakazian. I don't know, dude. I don't know. It was a bad cut. It was a good doctor stoppage, but Myron Breno Silva, in my mind, was winning that. Macy Jakazian, I don't know, bro. Women's featherweight. No, women's bantamweight is fucked, dude. It's so bad. It's so bad, dude. Ian Machado Gary versus Michael Venom Page. Here's the thing, dude. I predict these things. It was going to be a boring fight. Ian Machado Gary was going to get the takedown because Michael Venom Page can't fucking grapple because, you know, he can't. And Machado Gary is going to get booed because all the homies hate Ian Gary at that time. However, the card as a whole, I would argue... That's so bad. That's so tough. Let me look at this again. Diego Lopez and Dan Ige, Alex Pereira, Yuri Prohaska, fucking hard carry this card so bad. Bottom of B. Bottom of B, dude. That's tough. That's tough. UFC 304, Edwards versus who? Sorry, Muhammad. I'm just messing with you. Main card. Let's just get into this. Arnold Allen versus Giga Chikadze. Okay, good fight. Arnold Allen got clipped a few times, but Giga Chikadze is a fraud. Giga Chikadze does bad against anybody who is an above average striker. Alex Caceres was the peak of his ability. Arnold Allen is a seasoned guy. Gregory Rodriguez versus Kristen Leroy Duncan. Gregory Rodriguez, Combat Obama himself, just has a little bit of that edge, a little bit more of that dog and that main character energy, and he was going to get that done. King Green versus Paddy Pimblett. Probably the lowest IQ move of this entire fucking year, by the way, is suiting for a takedown on Paddy Pimblett and getting horrifically guillotined. Tom Aspinall versus Curtis Blades. Let me tell you something right now. This was probably the most scared I was in a fight because I was talking a lot of shit about John Jones. And if Tom Aspinall lost to Curtis Blades, that might have been it. That might have been it for me. But Tom Aspinall destroying Curtis Blades after John Jones picked Curtis Blades to beat him. Get fucking wrecked, little bro. Defended his interim title before John Jones could get a defense. The duck of a goat right there. And then Leon Edwards getting absolutely bullied by Bilal Muhammad for 5 rounds. Saying it was boring is weird. I don't believe that. I think Bilal Muhammad did what he was supposed to do and was actually kind of exciting for once in his career. Unpopular opinion. I think this card as a whole is actually a middle of B. Yuri Prohaska versus Alex Pereira 2, 303, is carried by Dan Ige versus Diego Lopez as the co-main event. Pereira and Prohaska as the main event. That is carried by 2 fights. This actually was a pretty good card, but middle of B tier. Middle of B. UFC 305, Duplessis versus Israel Adesanya. Okay, let's just go fucking through this. Li Jingliang versus Carlos Prates. Probably the saddest finish of the entire year, watching Carlos Prates beat the dog shit out of Li Jingliang after his comeback after his neck surgery. Bro, that's so bad. I'm laughing because of how sad it is, dude. Tai Tuivasa again proves that he is one of the least skilled fighters of all time, but he's funny, so we let it pass. Mateus Gamrot losing to Dan Hooker felt good. Kai Kara France beating up Steve Erceg did not feel good, but it was a KO. And Dricus Duplessis submitting Israel Adesanya was a dopamine hit that can only be rivaled with getting with, I don't even know, the most attractive woman of your dreams, frankly. I'm putting this A tier. A tier. Yes. A tier. This was a pretty good card. This is a pretty good card, in my opinion, of course. UFC 306 are called UFC Noche. Probably the most expensive card of the year, but had the highest gate in UFC history. Ronaldo Rodriguez versus Ode Osborne. A fucking disgrace of a fight to be put on a main card. Like, I understand. He's on it because he's Mexican. This was meant to be a UFC Mexico card, but I get it. Daniel Zellhuber versus Esteban Ribovic. Good fight. This was a great fight. I like, amazing fight. Better than I thought it was going to be. Brian Ortega versus Diego Lopez. Amazing fight. Alexa Grasso versus Valentina Shevchenko. Meh. That's how I thought about it. Meh. I think that, yeah, meh. That's how, yeah. Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili. Aggravating because everybody can defend a takedown against Merab, except for O'Malley, I guess, who had a good takedown defense before. As far as how the card goes, I'm going to put this at the top of A. Is it really? Let me look at that again. I'm thinking maybe the prelims jacked it up a little bit for me. I'm gonna put it at the top of B though. Top of B. I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna stand by my pick on that. UFC 307, Pereira versus Khalil Roundtree. Okay. Ketlin Vieira versus Kayla Harrison. Brother, Kayla Harrison walking into that octagon looking like a WWE wrestler, saying some shit like, "Get over here," is one of the funniest shit that I've ever seen. That didn't actually happen, but she just looked scary to me. Roman Dolidze, Kevin Holland. Nothing burger of a fight. Kevin Holland hurt his rib and then tapped out to pain. I'm not being mean about it, but I'm just being for real. Jose Aldo versus Mario Batista. Fucking awful fight. Jose Aldo should have won that. Mario Batista is an enemy of everybody now. Raquel Pennington should have won against Juliana Pena. UFC Bantamweight again proves that it is the worst division in the entirety of the UFC. Only better than UFC Women's Featherweight because Women's Featherweight does not exist anymore. Raquel Pennington, robbery. Alex Pereira beating up Khalil Roundtree is the only highlight of this entire fucking card. I'm putting it at C tier. C tier. And unironically, Strickland versus Duplessis might be an all-around better card. Dude, Pereira versus Khalil Roundtree is carried by one fucking fight. If you think this card is better, dude, I want you to see this. Strickland versus Duplessis. The co-main event is Pennington versus Myron Bueno Silva. Khalil Roundtree is the main event. The co-main event is Pennington versus Juliana Pena. They're the same fucking card, but I don't know. They're the same. They're literally the same card to me, but Pereira, okay. Top of C tier. I'll bend the knee on that. UFC 308, Topuria versus Holloway. Okay, I actually have some good. Sara Magomedov versus Armin Petrosian, one of the greatest KOs I think I've seen, is also a contender for KO of the year. Lerone Murphy versus Dan Ige. Dan Ige was getting the smoke in this fight, but Lerone Murphy managed to do enough in round 2 and round 3, and I think that's a fair decision, but I would have loved if Dan Ige got slumped him. Magomed Ankalaev versus Alexander Rakic's probably the most exciting fight of Magomed's career outside of Johnny Walker because everybody can KO Johnny Walker at this point. Robert Whittaker versus Khamzat Chimaev. Amazing comeback by Khamzat Chimaev with that submission in the first round. Love it. Khamzat Chimaev made middleweight a little bit more interesting. Ilia Topuria versus Max Holloway. Probably one of the greatest. Bro has the greatest 2 fights ever. Okay? Volkanovski and then KOing Max Holloway is insane. Great card. Phenomenal card. I'm going to put this A tier up there with UFC 299. Honestly, yeah. I think that, yeah. Valid. UFC 309, Jones versus Miocic. Okay, let's. Mauricio Referee versus Jones on top. Mauricio Referee sold this card. Well, not sold the card, obviously. Sold this fight. That's really the only thing that made it exciting. Lontop is fat and has a chin. That's really what it came down to. I think I actually walked away. I don't think I actually watched this fight because this is the most NPC-ass fight I've ever seen. Bo Nickel versus Paul Craig. Overrated-ass fight. I hate this fight. Not even overrated. Rightfully rated because everyone realized that Bo Nickel's pretty overrated. Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler. Best card of the entire fight because Mike Chandler, the moment he realizes he's not going to win a fight, goes super low IQ and then just makes it exciting. And then says, well, who were the fans cheering? That is the biggest cope I've ever heard and almost illegally finished Charles Oliveira. John Jones has probably one of the greatest finishes of his entire career because he has a few crazy finishes near the beginning of his career, but then had a huge stunt of not a lot of finishes. John Jones beats an old man Stipe. Okay, fight Tom Aspinall or fucking retire. That's really what I gotta say. As far as the card, though, I would put it up there at the same level of a Volkanovski versus Topuria. Pretty good year. And then finally, UFC 310, Pantoja versus Asakura. We're just going to get through this really quick. Nate Landwehr getting beat up by Choi. Nate Landwehr is not UFC caliber talent. He just isn't. He is a funny dude. He's like a less talented Bryce Mitchell. Nate Landwehr is a fucking disgrace. Gets beat up by Choi. Not UFC caliber talent, just isn't. Bryce Mitchell versus Kron Gracie. Kron Gracie is not UFC caliber talent, should immediately be cut because he is a Nepo baby coming into the UFC. He is a Gracie, but is the worst type of Gracie, a soy Gracie. I miss the day and age where the Gracies were obviously doing jiu-jitsu and then meditating in the fucking forest. Bryce Mitchell, let me show you how grappling is done, brother, and then absolutely fucks this man up and KOs him. Fucking damn right, bro. Pulling guard on another man, pathetic. Pathetic, man. Cyril Gane versus Alexander Volkov. Robbery of the year. Disgraceful. I think the person who ruled it for Cyril Gane needs to be rounded up into the street, and I'm not going to say that on video. But I think they need to lose their license to judge MMA fights and automatically should get pushed out and laughed out of any MMA arena that they're ever in. Savkat Rachmanov versus Ian Machado. Gary, disappointing, but it was good to see. Okay, Machado Gary got Aura back because he's become the laughingstock of welterweight. Shavkat Rakhmonov lost Aura. This is the best decision of the entirety of Ian Gary's career. Let me tell you how smart of a decision this was. Number one, this was the least short notice fight I've ever seen. Ian Gary had a 7-week training camp because he was already set to fight Joaquin Buckley a week afterwards. So he really got 7 weeks and was fighting a striker. Shavkat Rakhmonov was training for Bilal Muhammad. Didn't get to fight Bilal Muhammad and had to fight a striker in Ian Gary. So I'm going to be real with you. Shavkat does have a few solid excuses, but at the end of the day, only the hardcore fans are going to know of those excuses. Most of the people saw Shavkat Rakhmonov almost get choked out by Ian Gary, and that's all bad. Pantoja versus Kaya Sakura. I don't know. Pantoja just proved that he's UFC caliber champion, a great champion, one of the most underrated champions in the UFC. Kaya Sakura is exciting, but got beat up by Pantoja and submitted and choked unconscious. Honestly, yeah. He got like the reverse Steve Erceg treatment where Steve Erceg did better than a lot of people thought and then got fan appeal. Kaya Sakura, I guess, did decent. I don't know. This card, I'm going to put it C tier. Same level as UFC 299, bottom of C tier. UFC 301 is the worst card of the year. UFC 300 is the best card of the year, right next to each other. And I think that's valid. And there you go. That is me ranking every single UFC pay-per-view of the year. A few controversial takes in this one, but remember, we are only ranking the main cards. Tell me what you think your ranking is in the comment section down below. And if you haven't already, please consider a like, comment, and subscribe for MMA takes. And I will see you all next time. Adios, guys.